Hi everybody, this is Craig Tanner for The Mindful Eye and the Photo of the Week on the Daily Critique. The Photo of the Week for this week was submitted by John, who's an advanced photographer from Seattle, and we have some backstory and metadata information for you. John shot this in a Seattle area park. He says that he was really enjoying the evening light. This was late light. He was really enjoying the reflection of colors in the water, and that he also, more than anything, was enjoying just the shapes that he was getting with this particular framing. And John says he was really trying to go for a feeling of peace and calm in this image. And we have a little bit of metadata information. John shot this with a 200 millimeter lens wide open at f2.8 and exposed the file at a 200th of a second. One of the things that I've found fascinating right when I looked at this image is how I was immediately sort of going back and forth between an abstract reality. And when we talk about things being abstract in photography or painting, it's really the kind of picture or image or painting where, as the viewer, we're paying more attention to just intrinsic form, or maybe that's all there is. When we start to move towards literal, it's more pictorial or narrative or descriptive, and we're thinking more about sort of a story, and it's obvious to see what's going on. And one of the things I love about this image is, to me, it's a really beautiful sort of back and forth between the two different extremes. An abstract where I'm just going to pay attention to shape and form and color and not really relate that to anything that's literal, that can connect to story. And then it's obvious here that this is just shooting a part of a person. And the other thing that's very provocative is that when you do get to the literal, you have a very powerful archetype here. You've got somebody that's partially clothed, and so it's not just playing back and forth between literal and abstract. It's playing back and forth between something that, to me, is these shapes and colors and everything are very calming, and then something that's very provocative potentially and very high energy. Other thing that I love about this image is that I really enjoy how, when I first look at the image, I do see these really beautiful big space shapes that are playing off of each other in a very sort of rhythmic way, both in terms of color and quality of line and shape. But as I look closer at the image, there's a whole nother layer of information, details like this, and then it repeats here, and that rhymes this detail, and even this detail in the shadow on the elbow, and it plays here again. That continues a repetition of the big ideas that I see right when I look at the image. And those kinds of rhythms, to me, really help the viewer to be led through the photograph in a way where they feel like they're getting the communication, because there's a unity or cohesiveness of ideas that's really powerful. The other thing that I really like about this image is, John says he was going for peace and calm, and I get a lot of that looking at the image. You've got the archetype of water, which for so many people is incredibly calming, and not only that, sitting on the surface of the water, two of the most calming colors, blue and then green. And then even the warm tones in the person, they're all understated. We never really get to, even though there's some component of red and some component of orange, and some component of yellow, we never get to those pure colors. So the warm tones have a very sort of earthy, natural feeling to them, and they complement and play off of the cool tones in a very soft and calming and peaceful way. And also just the line of the small of the back here and the way that it's curving and the ripples in the water. But then you have the idea of this arm that's locked off to the point where it's hyper extended going in this direction, and then the hand is a real powerful stopping point. It's not just anchoring the person, it's anchoring the image, but it's anchoring it in a very sort of heavy, locked off kind of way. The fingers are spread out, which is a real powerful archetype, real high energy, either stopping someone or waving or calling attention to something. So the other thing that I love about this image is, even though, yes, there's a real strong component of peaceful and calm to it, there's also a component to it of tense. And there's even a component of something that starts to go even almost surreal, like this almost represents something like the shape of an eye. And it goes very away from this sort of literal calming idea of water. And last thing that I want to talk about relative to this image, I've already mentioned it, but I just want to bring in the color wheel here and just talk about color for a minute. Really beautiful here if you're just thinking about color theory. how there's a whole series of analogous colors over here on this side of the color wheel: blue, blue-green, green, and yellow-green, and then sort of all of their opposites or near opposites playing out sort of like this. But again, noticing how these colors are very, very understated, and what an effect that has on us as the viewer in terms of the kind of energy that we get from the image. Yeah, you have a suggestion of the blue and orange color pair here that's really beautiful, but it's muted and it's understated. Yes, there's a feeling of red and green color pair, but it's very muted and very understated. It's just really interesting to me from a color standpoint, what's happening in terms of how I feel about this image. One of the big takeaways that I would say about this image for myself and that I'm just trying to share today is shooting a part of something. The camera is a great documentary tool, and I love, just like anybody else, to just take a straight shot and just to remind myself of something. And that can be really beautiful. Just sort of no effort. The camera can do something incredible just documenting. But I'd encourage you, if you're trying to grow your eye and you're just getting into photography, you could just give yourself an assignment. You could say, I'm going to today pick 5 things, and I'm going to first take a very literal picture. I don't even have to think about it. I'm just going to document it. And then I'm going to take that subject, then I'm going to 5 times try, by just shooting a part of it, to abstract it, just using part of the positive space shape and then other negative space shapes that are happening around that in the edge of the frame. Can be a really powerful way to work. Love this image, really beautiful image from John. We want to thank him for sharing this image with us on the Mindful Eyes Photo of the Week on the Daily Critique. Hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Thanks a lot, everybody.